I found her OnlyFans by accident. Hundreds of videos with thousands of comments. My wife Sarah filming explicit content with a man called King in our bedroom while I worked double shifts. The betrayal wasn't just the sex. It was filming in my father's funeral suit. It was their laughter at my expense. It was the baby she terminated without telling me. Now I'll dismantle her empire in cold, calculated silence. I found her OnlyFans by accident. Hundreds of videos with thousands of comments. My wife Sarah filming explicit content with a man called King in our bedroom while I worked double shifts. The betrayal wasn't just the sex. It was filming in my father's funeral suit. It was their laughter at my expense. It was the baby she terminated without telling me. Now I'll dismantle her empire in cold, calculated silence. Blood dripped from my clenched fist onto our bedroom floor. The phone screen showed Sarah, my wife of 2 years, with another man. Not just any video. A professional production with lighting, multiple angles, and thousands of paying subscribers. Her stage name was Midnight Siren. His was King. Their latest video had just hit 500,000 views. A notification lit up my screen. King and Sarah live exclusive. Tonight. I watched the subscriber count tick up. Each new member paying $29.99 for exclusive access to my wife. I had always thought I knew Sarah. College sweethearts who married, young. Me working construction to support us while she pursued her photography career. Always understanding when she needed expensive new equipment. Always patient when she had late-night sessions or weekend retreats. Looking back, I should have questioned why our joint bank account never reflected her supposed success. I watched another notification appear. Another $1,000 in subscription fees. Money that should have been building our future. Money earned while I worked 14-hour days with broken ribs after falling from scaffolding last month. Without a word, I transferred our entire life savings, $42,638, to an account I had opened that morning. Not enough to start over, but enough to ensure she wouldn't profit from one more day of my ignorance. Everything we built was a lie, I whispered to our empty bedroom. 3 days earlier, I had come home with surprise anniversary tickets to Paris. I had saved for months, taking extra weekend shifts when the pain in my back was almost unbearable. Sarah had seemed distracted, claimed she had a photography retreat that weekend. I had nodded, disappointed but understanding. I didn't know then that photography retreat meant a weekend at a luxury hotel with King, filming content that would earn more than my monthly salary in a single day. The truth came from a coworker's phone. Ryan, scrolling through his feed during lunch break, suddenly stopping with wide eyes. "Hey Mark, isn't this your Sarah?" My sandwich hit the dirt as I stared at the screen. My wife, instantly recognizable despite theatrical makeup, performing acts she had always refused with me. The preview thumbnail alone shattered everything. I thought I knew about our marriage. "There's more," Ryan said uncomfortably, showing me her profile. "She's kind of famous, man." Famous. 2 years of content, hundreds of videos, most filmed in our home, some in our bed. I spent that night alone in our living room, creating a fake account to access her content. Each video was another knife. I recognized locations in our house. The lingerie I had bought for our anniversary being used as props for another man. The wedding ring I had worked overtime for months to afford glinting under professional lighting, while she pleasured a stranger. Most devastating was the video filmed the day of my father's funeral. While I stood graveside, Sarah had claimed to be too distraught to attend. The timestamp proved she had been with King, wearing the black dress I had bought her for the service, laughing as they desecrated our home. I thought I had reached my breaking point until I found the video where King addressed me directly. "This is for her pathetic husband," he smirked into the camera. "The cuck who can't satisfy his woman. While you're breaking your back at the construction site, I'm breaking your bed with your wife." Sarah had laughed. I remember thinking I would confront her, scream, break things, demand answers. But something inside me went cold instead. Rage crystallized into something harder, sharper, more patient. I learned more that night than just her betrayal. I learned their patterns, their schedule. I discovered King's real identity. Michael Reeves, owner of 3 nightclubs downtown with suspected connections to money laundering operations. I found their private communications to subscribers promising exclusive getaways and special requests for the right price. I watched the man, who had destroyed my life, kiss my wife in our kitchen, the same kitchen where I cooked her breakfast every Sunday. That was when I made my decision. I wouldn't just confront them, I would destroy them both. I spent the next day investigating instead of working. Financial records showed Sarah had made nearly $1 million from her online activities. Our joint tax returns claimed 1/5 that amount. I found receipts for a secret apartment downtown, credit card statements for luxury purchases, and evidence of a separate bank account I never knew existed. I followed her that afternoon, watching her enter an upscale apartment building with keycard access. 3 hours later, King arrived in a black Lexus. I took photos of everything with the new burner phone I had purchased that morning. I remember thinking how strange it was to feel nothing. No tears, no screaming, just cold, clear focus. That evening, Sarah came home late, claiming a client had rescheduled. I smiled, kissed her cheek, and said I understood. I asked about her day, listened to her lies with new clarity, watched her check her secret phone when she thought I wasn't looking. "I love you," she said before bed, the same lips that had been with him hours before. "I love you too," I replied, already planning their downfall. By the following morning, I had created an elaborate chart in a hotel room I paid for in cash. Sarah's empire mapped out in detail: her subscriber base, income streams, content schedule, King's business connections, associates, the nightclubs that likely served as fronts for his other activities. My construction background made me patient. Building takes time. Tearing down can be even slower if done right. I befriended a tech-savvy regular at a bar who helped me gain access to Sarah's accounts for a few $100s. Nothing that would alert her, just enough to monitor activity, gather evidence, understand the full scope of her betrayal. At home, I performed perfectly as the oblivious husband. I became more attentive, not less. Brought her coffee in the morning, asked about her photography, all while gathering everything I needed. 3 days after discovering her videos, I stood in our bedroom watching new comments flood in for their upcoming livestream. One patron had paid $500 for a special request involving my anniversary gift to Sarah. I made my first move that night. A simple anonymous tip to the IRS about unreported income. A casual mention to Sarah's father, my boss at the construction company, about financial advice for all the photography money Sarah's been making. The foundation was laid. Now I would build my revenge, brick by brick, until there was nothing left of their empire but ashes. I approached my investigation like building a house. Start with the foundation, add supports, then walls. No rush. Just methodical progress until everything stands secure. Most people confront betrayal immediately. They scream, break dishes, demand explanations. That gives the betrayer power. They craft narratives, shed tears, manipulate emotions. Not me. I chose silence. Silence builds differently. The day after discovering Sarah's double life, I called in sick to work. I needed to understand exactly who King was. His real name was Michael Reeves, owner of 3 nightclubs downtown. Public records showed multiple business violations swept under the rug. Interesting. Even more interesting were his connections to several city officials who frequently visited his VIP rooms. I knew construction. I knew patience. I knew how to move unnoticed as just another worker on a site. These skills served me well now. Looking back, I realized those first days were the hardest. Sleeping beside her each night, smelling another man's cologne faintly on her skin. Watching her check her phone with secretive smiles. Hearing practiced lies about client meetings and portfolio sessions. I created a small workspace in a storage unit across town. A map of Sarah's activities on one wall. King's business connections on another. Financial records spread across a folding table. Every night while Sarah thought I was working late, I built my case. I traced nearly $1 million through her accounts over 2 years. Our tax return showed only $180,000 combined income. The math was simple, the crime clear. Tax fraud would be my first weapon. The laptop I purchased with cash became command central. I hired Troy, a tech expert with questionable ethics, to gain access to Sarah's cloud storage where she kept her content before posting. He didn't ask questions when I paid in cash. He just delivered passwords and backdoor access to her digital life. "Why not just confront her?" Troy asked once. I remember looking at him with such coldness that he physically backed away. "Because I'm not interested in confrontation. I'm interested in justice." Every night when Sarah said she was editing photos, she was actually messaging subscribers, planning shoots, arranging meetings with King. Through Troy's access, I archived every conversation, every explicit promise, every financial transaction. During this time, I became the perfect husband, more attentive, not less. I brought her coffee each morning, complimented her work, asked interested questions about her photography career. Each lie she told was recorded and categorized. Each fabrication built my case stronger. I remember one night she received a text while we were having dinner. The phone screen lit up with King's message. "Last night was incredible. Can't wait to show our fans what we filmed." "Work emergency?" I asked innocently. "Just a client loving." "Their new headshots," she smiled, typing a response. I nodded sympathetically. "You're so talented. I'm proud of you." The knife twisted in my heart, but my face showed nothing. Patience was my greatest strength now. A week into my investigation, I needed to know more about their meeting places. Sarah mentioned a studio space downtown she sometimes used. I followed her there one afternoon. Not a studio. A luxury apartment with monthly rent twice our mortgage, paid in cash from her separate accounts. 3 hours later, King arrived. I photographed everything from my car: entry times, license plates, the doorman who greeted them by name suggesting routine visits. When they emerged 5 hours later, Sarah checked her appearance carefully before heading home to me. That night, she talked about her exhausting client meeting while I massaged her shoulders. My hands on the same skin King had touched hours earlier, the ultimate humiliation. But I smiled, nodded, played my role. I didn't know it then, but my emotional detachment was my greatest asset. Where others would have broken, I built. My next step required careful navigation. Sarah's father was my boss at the construction company, a decent man who had welcomed me into the family. He needed to know eventually, but timing was crucial. I arranged a casual lunch, mentioning financial advice for Sarah's growing photography business. I noted how her equipment purchases exceeded what seemed reasonable for a starting photographer. How strange that our joint accounts didn't reflect her apparent success. "She's always been private about money," he said, frowning slightly. "Gets that from her mother. Family trust makes her independent. Family trust. New information." I added it to my investigation that night. 3 weeks in, I secured a position at a new construction site directly across from King's main nightclub. Perfect surveillance position. I documented everyone entering, the private rear entrance, delivery schedules, security rotations. Most importantly, Sarah's regular Tuesday and Thursday visits when I worked late shifts. Each night, Sarah's lies about working late were documented with time-stamped photos of her entering King's club. Each claim of networking with clients cataloged alongside evidence of her actual activities. Troy called me one evening with unexpected news. "Dude, they're planning something big. They've booked one-way tickets to Bali next month. Non-extradition country." I remember standing perfectly still in my storage unit command center. They weren't just betraying me. They were planning to disappear with their fortune, likely leaving me with whatever debts they'd accrued. That night at dinner, Sarah mentioned possibly expanding her business internationally. "That sounds exciting," I said, cutting my steak. "Any particular countries in mind?" "Southeast Asia has amazing opportunities," she replied, not meeting my eyes. "I've always wanted to see Bali," I said casually. The fork paused halfway to her mouth. A flicker of panic crossed her face before she composed herself. Maybe someday we'll go together. I smiled. Maybe. That conversation accelerated my timeline. I contacted IRS investigators anonymously with evidence of tax fraud. I sent tips to vice detectives about activities in the back rooms of King's clubs. I cultivated a friendship with Anthony, King's business partner, at a bar where he frequently drank alone. Michael's been acting strange lately, Anthony confided after several meetings. Large cash withdrawals, missing inventory, talks about retiring somewhere tropical. I nodded sympathetically. Must be stressful running a business with someone you can't fully trust. Seeds of doubt planted, I moved to my next target. I needed access to Sarah's separate apartment. The locksmith didn't question my story about losing keys to my own place. Not when I had Sarah's ID information, address, and payment details from her secret accounts. The apartment revealed everything: professional lighting setups, camera equipment purchased with our joint credit card, costumes and props. Most damning, a calendar on the wall marking shooting dates, subscriber counts, and income projections. My name appeared once. M working late, film bedroom series. I photographed everything before leaving. No trace of my presence. Just another piece of the foundation for what would come next. By the 1-month mark of my investigation, I had created multiple secure accounts for my assets, documented every conversation, copied all evidence of their crimes. I placed hidden cameras throughout our home, capturing Sarah's phone conversations, planning their escape. The construction of my revenge was nearly complete. All supports in place. All walls secured. Only the roof remained. The final confrontation that would collapse their world. I was no longer the betrayed husband fumbling in the dark. I had become the architect of their destruction. With 6 weeks of evidence collected, I shifted from investigation to preparation. My revenge required perfect timing. One misstep would alert them. They would disappear with their money to Bali. I couldn't allow that. The IRS agent I contacted, Jenkins, called me from a secured line. Your anonymous tip checks out. The discrepancies are significant. We're building a case. How long? I asked. Tax fraud investigations move slowly. 6 months minimum. Too long. Their flight was booked for 3 weeks from now. I remember thinking how strange life had become. By day, I installed drywall and poured concrete. By night, I orchestrated the destruction of my wife's secret empire. Both required precision. Both demanded focus. Can you accelerate the process if I provide complete financial records, bank statements, payment platforms, subscriber information? Jenkins paused. That would help considerably. You have access to those? I will. Not technically a lie. Troy was already working on it. Next came the Vice Squad. Detective Rodriguez had built his career on cleaning up the downtown district. King's clubs operated in his jurisdiction. We've suspected illegal activity at those establishments, Rodriguez confirmed. But Reeves is connected. Previous investigations hit roadblocks. What if you had video evidence? Security access, employee testimony? Rodriguez's interest sharpened. That would change things, substantially. I nodded. I'll be in touch. Looking back, I'm amazed at how methodical I remained. Heartbreak should have crippled me. Rage should have made me sloppy. Instead, I operated with surgeon-like precision. Anthony, King's business partner, proved surprisingly easy to manipulate. 3 meetings at his favorite bar had yielded remarkable intelligence. King had been siphoning money from their joint accounts, falsifying inventory reports, securing loans against the business without Anthony's knowledge. I've noticed discrepancies in the financial reports, I mentioned casually during our 4th meeting. My construction company was considering investing, but the numbers don't add up. Anthony's expression darkened. What discrepancies? I showed him carefully selected documents, just enough to raise suspicion without revealing my true motives. Michael promised the books were clean. Anthony muttered. I need to look into this. Another seed planted, Another support for my plan. The turning point came unexpectedly. Sarah was sick one morning, rushing to the bathroom. Pregnancy test packaging in the trash confirmed my suspicion. My heart stuttered. A child. Our child. For one brief moment, my resolve wavered. That evening, I heard Sarah on her phone in our bathroom, thinking I was asleep. "I took care of it," she whispered to King. "Appointment scheduled for Tuesday." "No. He doesn't suspect anything. It would complicate our exit plan." The final thread connecting me to her snapped. Not just betraying our marriage, erasing our future. Without even telling me I could have been a father. I accelerated everything after that night. Troy provided complete access to Sarah's financial accounts. I forwarded everything to Jenkins at the IRS. Bank statements, payment records. The apartment lease showing cash payments from unreported income. Rodriguez received security access codes to King's clubs courtesy of a bouncer Troy had befriended. Anonymous evidence packages arrived at the Vice Squad detailing after-hours activities in the VIP rooms. Employee testimonies appeared from disgruntled staff I had quietly cultivated. I remember driving past King's main club one evening, seeing Rodriguez and his team reviewing security footage in a parked van. Progress. Anthony called me in distress after confronting King about financial discrepancies. He denied everything, got aggressive, something's definitely wrong. "Maybe check the private safe in his office," I suggested, "behind the painting of the yacht." "How did you know about that?" "Just a guess. Seems like his style." Anthony found offshore account information. Partnership dissolution paperwork already signed in his forged signature, evidence of King's planned disappearance. "That son of a bitch is trying to screw me," Anthony raged. "I built this business with him." "What are you going to do?" I asked innocently. "Whatever it takes to protect what's mine." Another domino, set to fall. I hadn't known true satisfaction until watching my enemies destroy each other without recognizing my hand in their downfall. Sarah's pregnancy termination appointment created the perfect opportunity. While she was gone, I accessed her primary content storage drives. Troy had provided the decryption keys. I downloaded everything, creating backup evidence for the authorities. Then subtle alterations to select files. Nothing obvious, just enough to create tension between Sarah and King. In one video, I edited King's private comments to Sarah suggesting she was replaceable and he had other girls lined up. In content visible only to Sarah, I added messages from King to subscribers promising private sessions without Sarah for the right price. Seeds of discord planted. Relationship fissures created. Their relationship showed strain within days. Arguments on the phone, terse text exchanges, Sarah crying in the bathroom when she thought I couldn't hear. I maintained my perfect husband facade. Supportive, understanding, oblivious. When Sarah canceled our weekend plans claiming a migraine, I brought her tea and dimmed the lights, when in reality, she was frantically messaging King about their deteriorating partnership. My preparations neared completion as their departure date approached. One weak point remained: Sarah's father, my boss, the man who had welcomed me into his family. He deserved to know, but timing was crucial. I created a comprehensive dossier, financial evidence, photos, video clips, tax documents, property records, everything needed to understand the full scope of Sarah's deception. The following day, I requested a private meeting with him at the construction office. "Everything okay, Mark? You've seemed distracted lately." I placed the sealed envelope on his desk. "I need you to look at this tonight alone. It concerns Sarah." His expression turned concerned. "Is she in trouble?" "In a manner of speaking. Should I be worried?" "Review the contents first. We'll talk tomorrow." I didn't tell him his daughter had created pornographic content in his company's promotional materials, that she had filmed explicit videos wearing the watch he gave her for graduation, that she mocked him in private messages to subscribers. Those discoveries would come with the evidence. Sarah's father called the next morning at 3 a.m., his voice hollow. "Is this verified?" "Every document, every image, every financial record." "Why didn't you come to me immediately?" I needed absolute certainty. No room for denial or explanation. Silence stretched between us. What happens now? That depends on you. But their flight to Bali leaves in 8 days. Once they're gone, the money disappears with them. Another pause. Come to my house tomorrow. 6 p.m. Don't tell Sarah. Understood. The next day, I arranged the final components. IRS investigators prepared to freeze accounts pending formal investigation. Vice Squad scheduled raids on King's clubs based on accumulated evidence. Anthony filed emergency injunctions against King, accessing their business assets. The noose tightened around them both. Neither suspected the architect of their destruction. Slept beside Sarah each night, kissed her goodbye each morning. That evening, I arrived at her father's house precisely at 6 p.m. The grim determination in his eyes mirrored my own. No tears, no histrionics. Just resolved acceptance of what must be done. She's my daughter, he said finally. But what she's done is unforgivable. I nodded. I've reviewed everything, called my lawyers. The family trust remains under my control. Until she's 35, she won't access those funds. Another piece in place. What do you need from me? He asked. Be here tomorrow at noon. Wait with me until she arrives. Let her see us both with the evidence. Let her understand there's no path to denial. He agreed. The confrontation was set, the foundation laid, the supports secured, the walls erected. Now came the roof, the final phase that would collapse their world completely. I sent Sarah a text that night as she worked late at her studio apartment with King. Your father and I need to speak with you tomorrow. Noon, your childhood home. It's important. Her response came quickly. Is everything okay? We'll discuss tomorrow. Don't be late. The stage was set. In less than 24 hours, their empire would crumble. Sarah's father and I sat in silence as noon approached. Printed evidence spread across his coffee table, bank statements, screenshots, photos of her entering King's club. The pregnancy test I had retrieved from our bathroom trash. Her father aged years in a single night. His daughter's separate life laid bare before him. The empire she had built, on lies and exploitation. The fortune she had hidden. She always had everything, he said quietly. We never denied her anything. I nodded. Nothing to add. No comfort to offer. Sarah arrived 15 minutes late. I heard her key in the door. Heels on hardwood. The moment suspended in time. Dad? Mark? What's going on? Her voice faltered as she entered the living room. Saw us sitting there. Saw the evidence displayed. Her father's devastated expression. My cold stare. I remember her face in that moment. The precise second realization dawned. Her double life collapsing in an instant. The careful separation between worlds obliterated. It's not what you think, she stammered. Classic first defense. Denial. Even with incontrovertible evidence before her. Sit down, her father said, not angry, something worse. Disappointed. She perched on the edge of a chair, eyes darting between us. Calculating. Always calculating. How long have you known? She asked me. Long enough? I had rehearsed this confrontation countless times. Imagined screaming, throwing things, demanding explanations. But now, sitting before her, I felt nothing but cold focus. Looking back, I realized that moment marked my victory. Her desperate need for explanation. My absolute control of the situation. 2 years of content, I said evenly. Nearly $1 million in unreported income. Tax fraud. Multiple properties. One-way tickets to Bali scheduled for next week. Her eyes widened at the precision of my knowledge. The videos from our bedroom were particularly creative, especially the one filmed, the day of my father's funeral. Her father made a choked sound. And your recent pregnancy, the appointment to terminate without ever telling me I could have been a father. Tears welled in her eyes. Mark, please, we can talk about this. We are talking about it. I slid. Divorce papers across the table. I want everything. Her shock gave way to panic, then calculation. I watched the transformation. First, tears. Vulnerability. When that garnered no response, seduction. "We can work through this," she whispered, reaching for my hand. "I made mistakes, terrible mistakes, but I love you." I withdrew my hand. "You've never loved me." "That's not true." "Your messages to King suggest otherwise, particularly your plans to leave me penniless when you disappear." Her strategy shifted again. Anger. Blame. "You were never there. Always working. Never noticing me. King appreciates me. Values me." I remember thinking how predictable her responses were, like reading from a script. "King appreciates the money you generate," I corrected. "His messages to other performers make that clear." Doubt flickered across her face. "Didn't know about those, did you? His plans to replace you with younger talent once you're in Bali." Her father spoke for the first time since she entered. "Why, Sarah? We gave you everything." She turned to him, grasping for support. "Daddy, please." "Mark doesn't understand." "I understand everything," he said quietly. "The trust fund is frozen permanently." Her face paled. The backup plan, her safety net, gone. I stood, straightening my jacket. "Your accounts are being investigated for tax fraud. Your OnlyFans income has been reported to the IRS. Your business partnership with King is under scrutiny by several agencies." Each statement landed like a physical blow, her empire crumbling in real time. "You can't do this," she whispered. "I already have." I moved toward the door, the confrontation completed. No theatrics necessary. "Mark, wait, where are you going?" "Home. To pack your things." "You're throwing me out?" "You can't. It's my house, too." I turned back. "Check the deed. It's solely in my name. Your idea, if you recall. To protect our assets in case your photography business faced lawsuits." Her own deception used against her. Perfect symmetry. The drive home was strangely peaceful. No music, no phone calls. Just quiet satisfaction as Sarah's frantic texts flooded my phone. Begging, threatening, bargaining. I read each one without responding. I didn't know it then, but the confrontation was just the beginning of her collapse. At home, I methodically packed her personal belongings. Clothes, jewelry, the expensive camera equipment purchased with our joint funds, all boxed and placed on the porch. The locksmith arrived promptly. New locks installed, security codes changed. Sarah arrived as he finished, her face streaked with tears and fury. "You can't do this. This is my home." "Not anymore." She lunged for the door. I blocked her path. "Everything you own is in those boxes. The rest stays with me. My equipment, my computers. Purchased with marital funds. Mine now." Her desperation turned to threats. "I'll destroy you. Tell everyone what you did." I smiled for the first time that day. "Tell them what exactly? That you created pornographic content in our home, committed tax fraud, planned to abandon your husband after draining joint accounts?" She faltered. "Your phone is ringing," I observed. King's name flashed on her screen. She answered, desperate for an ally. "Michael, he knows everything. We need to move up our plan." I could hear King's agitated voice through the speaker. Something had gone very wrong on his end, too. "What do you mean the accounts are frozen? The clubs are being raided? How?" I watched realization dawn on her face. She stared at me with new understanding. "You did this," she whispered. "All of it." I handed her a flash drive. "Everything you've ever said about me, every lie you've told, every plan you made with King, it's all here. Why give this to me? So you understand there's nothing you can say, no story you can spin, that I don't already know about." Sarah's phone buzzed, with notifications, her subscribers canceling memberships, her content being removed from platforms for terms violations. her carefully crafted online persona dismantled piece by piece. "What did you do?" she whispered. "I protected what's mine." King arrived 30 minutes later, storming up the driveway in his black Lexus, rage personified. The man who had mocked me in videos, who had taken my wife, who had planned to steal my future. "You think this is over?" he shouted from the lawn. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." I stepped onto the porch, calm, centered. "I know exactly who I'm dealing with, Michael. A man currently under investigation by the IRS, DEA, and Vice Squad. A man whose business partner just filed emergency injunctions freezing all company assets. A man with no clubs, no income, and no future." King's face contorted. He reached beneath his jacket. Sarah screamed. Before he could draw whatever weapon he carried, police sirens wailed from both ends of the street. Perfect timing. Detective Rodriguez had promised surveillance on my home after I warned of potential confrontation. King froze, calculation replacing rage. He backed toward his car as patrol units surrounded the property. "This isn't over," he threatened. "Actually, it is." Officers approached with purposeful strides. One spoke into his radio. Another indicated King should place his hands on his vehicle. Sarah watched her lover being handcuffed with stunned disbelief, her perfect escape plan dissolving before her eyes. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. "You leave. Find somewhere else to live, someone else to exploit." "And if I refuse?" I nodded toward the officers now approaching her. "There's evidence of financial crimes in those boxes. Tax fraud carries significant penalties." She paled, grabbing her belongings as the officers reached us. "Ms. Williams, we have some questions about your financial activities," one stated formally. I watched from the porch as Sarah was escorted to a patrol car. Not arrested. Not yet. Just questioned. The beginning of her legal nightmare. As darkness fell, I sat, alone in our empty house. The confrontation completed. Their worlds shattered. My revenge progressing exactly as planned. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. The empire was wounded, not destroyed. King had connections. Sarah had manipulative skills. They could recover, rebuild. I needed to ensure complete destruction. No possibility of return. No chance of redemption. My phone rang. Anthony, King's business partner. "They found everything. Drugs, financial records, evidence of money laundering. It's all over the news." Phase 1 complete. Now for the finishing blow. News of the club raids dominated local headlines the next morning. Nightclub owner arrested on multiple charges. King's mugshot plastered across screens. His empire crumbling in public view. Sarah wasn't arrested that night, just questioned extensively. Released to a hotel room she could barely afford now. That her accounts were frozen. Her calls went straight to my voicemail. Her texts unread. Jenkins from the IRS contacted me the following day. "The evidence you provided is substantial. We've initiated a formal investigation into both parties." "How long until formal charges?" "Weeks, not months. The documentation is unusually thorough." I thanked him and hung up. Another piece in place. Troy reported that Sarah's subscribers were abandoning her platform in droves. Someone, not me, had leaked her real identity to her fanbase. The carefully crafted fantasy shattered, the parasocial relationships destroyed. "They're vicious," Troy noted, turning on her completely, demanding refunds, sharing her content for free in revenge. Poetic justice. The woman who had exploited others now exploited herself. I remember feeling strangely empty that morning. The initial satisfaction of revenge, fading into something hollower. Not regret, just recognition of what had been irretrievably lost. Looking back, I understand that moment now. The eye of the storm. The quiet center before the final devastation. 3 days after the confrontation, I received notification that King had posted bail. Considerable sums paid by mysterious benefactors. His criminal connections proving valuable, not unexpected. I had planned for this contingency. Sarah remained free but increasingly desperate. Her attempts to access our joint accounts failed. Her credit cards declined. Her separate accounts frozen pending investigation. Her subscribers vanished. Her income stream severed. She showed up at my workplace the following day, eyes red from crying, designer clothes replaced by whatever she had grabbed during her hasty exit. "Mark, please. I have nowhere to go." My co-workers watched with uncomfortable curiosity, the wife they had never truly met now creating a scene. That's not my problem. I made mistakes, terrible mistakes, but you can't just throw away our marriage. I looked at her directly. You threw it away. Every video, every lie, every moment with him. I'll do anything, therapy, whatever you want. Just give me another chance. For a brief moment, something flickered inside me. Memory of what we once had, what I thought we had. Then I remembered the video from my father's funeral day, her laughing with King, mocking my grief. The pregnancy she terminated without telling me. The divorce papers are filed, non-negotiable terms. Sign them or fight them. Your choice will determine how much of your criminal activity becomes public record. Her expression hardened, the vulnerability replaced by familiar calculation. You wouldn't dare. It would humiliate you too. I no longer care about humiliation, only justice. She left without further argument. But I knew Sarah, knew her patterns. Her desperation would turn dangerous. She would seek help from the only ally remaining. King. That evening, I received an unexpected call from Detective Rodriguez. "We have reports that Reeves is planning something at his warehouse downtown, industrial district. He's gathering whatever, cash and assets he can salvage. Sarah, seen entering the location 30 minutes ago, exactly as I had anticipated, their final desperate attempt to escape." "Are you moving in?" I asked. "Tonight. Thought you should know, given your involvement." I thanked him and hung up, considered my options carefully, then made my decision. The warehouse district stood eerily quiet that evening, industrial buildings looming against the darkening sky, police vehicles positioned discreetly at perimeter points. Rodriguez nodded as I approached. "You shouldn't be here," he said without conviction. "I need to see it finished." He didn't argue, just handed me a spare tactical vest. "Stay behind the line. This is potentially volatile." I positioned myself across the street, perfect vantage point to witness the final act. Through high windows, I could see movement inside the warehouse, figures rushing between areas, preparing for escape that would never come. My phone vibrated. Sarah calling again. This time I answered. "Where are you?" she demanded. "Look out the north window." A pause. Then her face appeared at the glass, saw me standing across the street, phone to my ear, watching their desperate scramble. "What have you done?" she whispered. "Justice. They're going to arrest us. We'll lose everything." "You already have." King appeared beside her in the window, saw me, his face contorted with rage. He grabbed the phone. "You think this is over? You have no idea what I'm capable of." I remained calm. The police surrounding the warehouse might have some idea. As if on cue, spotlights illuminated the building. Rodriguez's amplified voice echoed through the night. "This is the police. We have a warrant to search these premises. Exit with your hands visible." King's expression shifted from rage to disbelief, then to desperate calculation. "This isn't over," he snarled before ending the call. I watched as police breached the warehouse, tactical teams moving with practiced precision. Sarah and King emerging minutes later, hands raised, faces etched with defeat, duffel bags of cash left behind in their failed escape. Sarah spotted me across the street as officers secured her wrists with zip ties. Our eyes met one final time. No words necessary. The game played to its conclusion. King struggled against restraint. shouting threats, promises of retribution, his carefully constructed image of power, now pathetic bravado. Rodriguez approached. As they were placed in separate vehicles, significant evidence recovered inside: cash, financial records, even drugs. Combined with previous findings, they're facing substantial charges. I nodded. What happens now? They'll be processed. Arraignment tomorrow. Given the evidence, bail unlikely for either party. The process moved quickly after that night. King's criminal connections abandoned him as evidence mounted. Previous charges that had mysteriously disappeared now resurfaced with renewed scrutiny. Sarah's financial crimes proved equally damning: tax evasion, money laundering, conspiracy charges from her business partnership with King. I testified at preliminary hearings with clinical detachment, presenting financial records, documenting their plans to flee the country, establishing timeline and intent. Sarah watched me from the defendant's table, silent tears tracking down her face, no longer the confident woman who had built an empire on exploitation, just another criminal facing consequences. King received 15 years, multiple charges, prior offenses considered. His nightclub empire permanently dismantled, assets seized, reputation destroyed. Sarah, 7 years for conspiracy and financial crimes. Her attempt to claim coercion failed when prosecutors presented her private messages, her agency and their partnership clearly established. The loyal subscribers who once worshipped her now mocked her fall with vicious enthusiasm. Fan sites became forums for ridicule. The parasocial relationships twisted into something uglier. I attended their sentencing hearing, not for closure, for confirmation, to witness the complete destruction of what they had built. As guards led them away, King whispered something to Sarah that made her smile despite everything. A small, secret exchange that confirmed my decision. Even now, facing years of imprisonment, their connection remained, their betrayal complete. My last doubt evaporated in that moment. Any lingering question of excessive punishment answered by that intimate smile between conspirators. The courtroom emptied. Reporters dispersed. The spectacle concluded. I sat alone in the gallery, feeling neither triumph nor relief, just finality. That evening I packed essentials into my truck. The house that had once been our home now listed for sale. The job that had broken my body resigned from. The life we had built together dismantled completely. Before leaving town, I visited Sarah's father one last time. The man had aged years and months. His daughter's actions a weight he would carry forever. "What will you do now?" he asked quietly. "Start over. Somewhere new." He nodded, understanding the need for complete severance. "She'll try to contact you when she gets out. She won't find me." We shook hands. No further words necessary between men who had both lost everything to the same betrayal. As I drove away that night, the city lights fading in my rearview mirror, I felt the first stirrings of something beyond revenge. Not healing, not yet, but possibility. Space where healing might eventually grow. They had taken everything from me. My marriage, my home, my future children, my trust. I had taken everything from them in return. Their freedom, their empire, their reputation, their plans. The scales balanced. Justice served. The story concluded. Or so I thought. 1 year passed. I built a new life in a coastal town 3 states away. Purchased a small house overlooking the ocean. Started my own contracting business. Created distance from everything that reminded me of Sarah, King, and their betrayal. Some nights I still woke to phantom notifications. The ghost of discovery still haunting me. The videos, the messages, the pregnancy test in the trash. But these moments grew less frequent, less powerful. I'd like to say I found peace. That revenge satisfied the wound left by betrayal. That destroying their empire healed what they had broken inside me. It would be a neater ending. The truth was, messier. Justice brought finality, not happiness. Revenge brought satisfaction, not healing. Looking back now, I understand that revenge was only the first step of recovery. The demolition before reconstruction could begin. The letter arrived on a Tuesday. Prison envelope. Sarah's inmate number in the corner. I recognized her handwriting, immediately. Considered burning it unopened. Curiosity 1. Inside, 5 pages of apology. Expressions of remorse. Claims of rehabilitation. Prison therapy groups. New understanding of her actions. Requests for forgiveness. I might have believed it. Might have considered that 7 months in prison had genuinely changed her. Might have taken a tentative step toward closure. Then I noticed the small newspaper clipping taped to the final page. Entertainment section. Minor headline. Streaming service acquires rights to OnlyFans scandal story. Included with the clipping, a smaller note. They're offering good money for exclusive interviews. I provided your new address to their producer. Hope that's okay, we could split the fee. Even now, she was looking for angles, opportunities to monetize, ways to exploit our story for profit. I contacted my lawyer immediately. Cease and desist letters sent to the production company. Clear statements that I would pursue legal action against any unauthorized usage of my likeness or story. The streaming project died quietly. No official announcement. Just industry whispers about unexpected complications. 2 weeks later, another envelope arrived. No return address this time. Inside, photos of Sarah and me from our early days. Candid moments I had forgotten existed. Attached note. These are worth $10,000 to the right tabloid. Would prefer to sell with your cooperation. 50-50 split? The manipulation continued. The exploitation. Different venue, same Sarah. I didn't respond. Instructed my lawyer to send another cease and desist. Made clear that any publication of private materials would result in immediate litigation. The photos never appeared in any publication. Another attempt thwarted. I remember standing on my deck that evening, watching waves crash against distant rocks, realizing that despite imprisonment, despite losing everything, Sarah remained unchanged. The same person who had built an empire on lies and exploitation was still trying to monetize whatever remained. My phone rang that night. Unknown number. Against better judgment, I answered. Mark. Sarah's voice. Somehow she had gained phone privileges, or more likely, paid someone to use their phone time. What do you want? They're releasing me early. Good behavior. Overcrowding. I need somewhere to stay when I get out. The audacity stunned me. After everything, she still believed she could manipulate me. Still thought there was something to salvage. That's not my problem. Where am I supposed to go? My father won't speak to me. My accounts are still frozen. I have nothing. You have exactly what you earned. Silence stretched between us. Then her voice changed, the vulnerability disappearing, the mask slipping. I never loved you. Not really. You know that, right? You were convenient, stable, boring. The words designed to wound, to provoke reaction, to regain power in any form. I know. Then why are you still punishing me? Haven't you taken enough? This isn't punishment, Sarah. It's consequence. I ended the call, blocked the number, returned to watching the waves, her words holding no power now. The truth already accepted months ago. The notification arrived 3 days later. Sarah released early on a technicality, some procedural error in her case processing. Not just early, release, case under review. Her lawyer had found a jurisdictional issue, a filing error, something technical that had nothing to do with actual guilt or innocence. The system that had finally delivered justice now potentially undermining it. I contacted Jenkins at the IRS, Rodriguez at Vice. Both confirmed the development but assured me the financial charges remained solid, the evidence overwhelming regardless of procedural issues. She won't walk completely, Jenkins promised, but she might get significantly reduced time. I thanked him and hung up. considered my options carefully. The letter, the photos, the phone call, Sarah's potential early release, all suggesting she wasn't finished trying to rebuild from the ashes. That evening, I retrieved a small box from my safe. Inside, the one piece of evidence I had never submitted to authorities, never shared with Sarah's father, never used in my campaign against their empire, the positive pregnancy test from our bathroom trash, proof of a child that was mine, that she had terminated without my knowledge or consent, my greatest loss in their betrayal. I held it, remembering the brief moment I had imagined fatherhood. The future erased without my input, the choice made unilaterally while I remained ignorant. My doorbell rang the following morning, Sarah standing on my porch, thinner than before, prison pallor not yet faded, designer clothes replaced by whatever she could find after release. How did you find me? You're not that hard to track down. Contracting license, business registration, public records. I stepped onto the porch, closing the door behind me, denying her entry to my new life. What do you want? I just need somewhere to stay, just for a while, until I get back on my feet. The same request, the same assumption that after everything I would still provide salvation. No. Mark, please. I have nowhere else to go. That's not my concern anymore. After everything we went through together, we didn't go through anything together. You lived a double life. I discovered it. Those are separate journeys. Her expression hardened, the mask of vulnerability falling away completely. I'll tell everyone what you did, how you stalked me, hacked my accounts, invaded my privacy. Tell whoever you want. The court records document everything you did, everything you were. She tried another approach. I'm writing a book about my experiences. It could be very detailed about our marriage. Things you might prefer remain private. I almost laughed. The threat so predictable, so Sarah. From my pocket, I removed the pregnancy test, held it between us. This is what you took from me. Not just our marriage, not just our trust, but the choice to be a father, the child you eliminated, without ever telling me it existed. Her face paled. How did you? I found it the day before I discovered your videos, was going to surprise you with celebration. Instead, I heard you planning its removal with your lover. For once, Sarah had no immediate response, no calculated angle. I continued. I've established a foundation for victims of exploitation, funded with proceeds from the sale of your story rights, which I acquired during your incarceration. Your story now serves to protect others from people like you. The irony wasn't lost on her. The empire she built through exploitation now funding protection for potential victims. You had no right. I had every right. You signed over your publicity, rights in the divorce settlement. Paragraph 23. Her eyes widened as recognition dawned. The document she had hastily signed to avoid further criminal exposure, the clause she had overlooked in her desperation. You planned this from the beginning. I planned for every contingency. She stared at me with new understanding. Perhaps, for the first time seeing not the convenient, stable, boring husband she had married, but someone who had systematically dismantled her world. You took everything from me, she whispered. You took everything from me first, I replied quietly. Even the chance to be a father. I closed the door as realization dawned on her face, locked it firmly, returned to my living room window to ensure she left. Sarah stood motionless on my porch for several minutes, then slowly walked away, defeated in a way that prison hadn't managed to accomplish. Inside, I sat alone in the silence I had finally made peace with. On my phone, a notification appeared. The Foundation's first case had been accepted, a new chapter beginning. The ocean stretched endlessly beyond my window, constant, changing, healing in its permanence. Sarah had been right about one thing. I had taken everything from her. Her freedom, her reputation, her financial security, her ability to profit from her exploitation. But she had been wrong about why. Not vengeance for its own sake, not punishment born from bitterness, but justice. Consequences aligned precisely with actions. I placed the pregnancy test in a small wooden box, closed the lid firmly, my final act of letting go. The waves continued their endless rhythm against the shore, erasing footprints, smoothing jagged edges, transforming through persistent contact what once seemed unchangeable.